Meeting will come to order at 5:00 PM. Let's introduce ourselves.
Scott Breyer, Select Board.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Dan Webster, board member.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator.
Arthur Maxwell, Planning Commission.
Official State Planning Commission.
And we also have Carleen Leonhardt from wherever she is.
I'm in Texas.
All right. Hi,
Property owner there, but living in Texas.
Carleen. What do we got for changes tonight? Scott, did you want to?
No,
Well, I know you've got one on the shed, but you want to say, keep the personnel, just.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any public comment? Hearing none, we will jump into our first main agenda item, which is the planning commission sidewalk article for town meeting. We've got two planning commission members here. I believe you guys wanted to mention what's going on with the buyout program in the village.
I mean, go.
George.
Okay. So, I don't know if you're aware, so, in the flood zone, FEMA, correct? Is that not the word?
FEMA and Vermont Emergency Management.
Vermont Emergency Management has started a program all over the state for any housing, that's in a flood zone that gets flooded. They're offering fair market value to the property owners. It's a process, but it's probably gonna take a year or two before it actually takes place. You can say, yes, I want to take advantage of this program, and then they'll come and they'll appraise your house and they buy it. And what happens is once they buy it, then it comes back to the town, becomes the town's property, and the town is responsible to dispose of the house and make it a green space. So in this town, there's a lot of properties, we don't know which ones yet, that are eligible for this program. So there's a very good possibility that the town will end up with a bunch of houses in this town that they'll be responsible for tearing down and turning into green space. So with that said, depending on what we can do with the properties and the land, we may end up changing, depending on who takes advantage of the program, the whole layout of the town could possibly change. From the roads into the town to the layout of the town, or maybe nothing. But it seems kind of, to me at this point, I think upgrading the sidewalks at some point in time is necessary and would be beneficial to all the residents and to the kids trying to go to school and their parents. But until we know which properties and houses are going to be, if any, but I believe so, are gonna be torn down in green space, I think we'd be jumping the gun. I think we should let it play out another year. And see what real estate the town takes on, and then we could make a better, because we've better choices, with the sidewalks, the layout could change. So it'd be foolish to waste the money and then redo it again.
Yes.
That's my thought. I don't know what your thoughts are.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
At some point, we're gonna find out who's gonna take
Right.
advantage of it.
Matt informed me of this a couple months back, and so I was kind of hesitant about the project. So I think it's best if we hold it for now until we have better knowledge.
It could be very significant, really. I mean, looking at the properties that we're talking about, a large portion of the sidewalks that we were looking at are there. And so it's most sensible. We're here and we've asked you folks to come in because we had discussed this totally different, right? I don't know how long ago it was, but before the flood.
probably 6, 8 months ago.
Yeah, and we knew that this was a big thing going, and because of the size and scope of the project, and one of the things that the board is trying to do now is put those large items in front of the town voters. That's kind of what we said we were gonna do. We kind of made that agreement, and when Matt started going through the steps of creating the warning, it was one of the things that came back to us, and we said, uh-oh, this is too bad. This doesn't make sense now, so let's call them back and talk about it. Make sure everybody's on the same page so that, you know, we're all educated to it. So as long as there's no issues, I think that's where we're at. Let's get through this.
We'll keep the folder, we'll keep all the information and,
Yeah,
you know, we'll bring it up
Yeah.
6 months, 8 months, we'll have an update, you know. Matt can keep you informed on who and what's taking place, and we take it from there.
yep. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, great job. All right, next up, we have Coventry Station Road permanent repairs, and my favorite engineer's here too.
Thanks, Matt. We've made some progress. I sent you guys over some plans and bid documents. They should look and feel very similar to the last set that got sent over. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, showing up my audio is not super high, but so it should look and feel very similar to the last set. Basically some plans, some cross sections, details, that kind of thing. It basically follows the same area and scope that we walked with FEMA back during the site inspection. It also pretty much parallels the same cost estimate we had previously looked at. I can't remember when FEMA sent their cost estimate back to you guys, the town. But they were, Matt, do you remember the exact number? It was about what we thought it would be. It was $900,000 or so, maybe.
At 900,000 and change.
Yeah, so it's right where we had it kind of pegged out. You don't know until bids actually come in, but we should be in the ballpark. I was pleased that it got written up by FEMA that way. Sometimes FEMA comes back and just lowballs stuff. That seemed to be their write-up and cost estimate seemed to be fair given the size and scope of the project. So because it's looking promising with FEMA so far, I've written up the bid documents as if it's a FEMA project. There's other clauses that you put in there, conditions that are not typical of a normal funded project through a town or a V-Trans grant. So I've got all the FEMA conditions woven into those bid documents. And it's basically ready to go out to bid when you guys are ready. We've got to insert a couple of things in there like pre-bid meeting dates and bid due dates and times and that kind of stuff, but the meat of it is all there. The scope is what we talked about. It's a geotextile and rock reinforced cross section. Get that road base built up properly so the pavement holds up on a little bit better and stop the settlement. You guys have any questions?
I got a lot of them.
Fire away.
Let's just, let me apologize first because I know that I should have done a little bit more of my homework and I didn't. So let's just step back. Thank you. Everything that you have here that we've got in front of us looks fantastic.
Good. Okay.
I think you've nailed it for us. I think that it's all wonderful news, the information that we're gathering with FEMA. So I think we're definitely heading in the right direction and we're ready to kick things off. Couple of just sort of, you know, the basic questions everybody would ask when they're scared about money.
Yep.
Walk us through that again. How does it work from today to completion of project with town money?
Yes. Okay. So what you would do next is we would go out to bid and contractors would submit bids based on the plans and specs you guys are looking at right now. you guys would have 30 days to review that bid and decide those bids and decide whether to take someone on or reject all the bids. So once you did that, assuming you select someone, they would be put under contract, but obviously not a good time of year to start work. So they would basically have the contract, but we put on delay until, middle of May throughout the summer to do the work. Once they start doing the work, they would basically invoice you guys, the town, on work completed until they're at 100%. Let's just use $1 million for argument's sake, because it's a nice round number. They're going to finish this project in, it's not a couple weeks, but it's certainly not a 3 or 4 month project either. Call it a month or two. They're going to invoice you guys for $1 million. You guys have to pay them $1 million. Then once we're done with that, you guys can go to FEMA and the state for reimbursement. FEMA is very, trying to think of they can be unpredictable on how long it takes them to reimburse. Some towns have gotten it in months. Some towns have gotten it in a year or 18 months. It just depends. It just depends. They also don't guarantee any money. They basically tell you to do what you would do as if we weren't here. If we deem everything's eligible, it matches our scope of work we've written up, then we'll reimburse you 75% or whatever their share is at the time. They said they might go higher than 75% due to all the damage from that event, but I would plan on 75% as a starting point. The state chips in their share, which I think for you guys is it's in the mid-teens. I think you guys will end up with roughly 10 cents on the dollar for argument's sake. So assuming everything goes well, after you get reimbursed from FEMA and the state, you guys would be on the hook for for, again, rough numbers, $100,000. There's always the risk that FEMA not changes their mind, but once you submit your reimbursement requests, they balk at it, don't give you the full freight. Who knows? It's FEMA. They're unpredictable. I've had good luck in the past, knock on wood. I've had, I think, one project where instead of reimbursing 75%, they did 65% or something. They had some person in a cubicle in DC looking at something they didn't like and decided to knock 10% off. The rest of them I've had good luck on, other than the timing of reimbursement. It takes a long time. So you need to be prepared to pay out that money and plan to sit on it for a while. A lot of towns I work with do some kind of, line of credit, short-term bank loan, something to that effect if you don't have it in reserves, or sometimes I've tried to balance out when taxes are due versus when they're paying contractors and try to balance some of it that way too. It seems like each town's finances and their financial approach is a bit different. So, but I would plan to pay $1 million and not get fully reimbursed for that $1 million for, a year plus. If it comes back in 2 months or 3 months, great. But that would seem awful fast for FEMA. Is that about, in a Cliff Notes version, sum up what you were looking for?
Yeah, you're saying it straight. It's nice and scary.
Yeah, that's the thing with FEMA is, most grants that you get through VTrans, they say, hey, you got a grant for, whatever, $250,000. It's yours, and go do the project. And if it comes in at $300,000, you pay a little bit out of pocket, but you have that grant locked in. FEMA, the scariest thing is it's not a guarantee. They tell you to do what you would do as if we weren't here, and we'll reimburse you on the back end. It's a very good sign. They've written up, so far, they'll tell you really quickly if they're not going to fund something. They could have gone out to that road and been like, we're not funding this at all. Or, yeah, we'll fund, $100,000 worth of pavement cracks or something. It's a very good, I take it as a very good sign as they wrote up a scope like the same way we saw it. And that scope has a FEMA written cost estimate, which matches generally with what we're writing up.
Where's that scope?
The FEMA scope?
Yeah.
Matt, did they provide it or did they just show it at the last Zoom meeting?
Copy. I don't have a copy up here.
Okay.
But
They
put
presented
pen to
it at
paper.
Zoom meeting.
Okay. You guys, you've seen it before. It was in
Because obviously,
some prior packets.
obviously it's a back road. If the town was on the hook for $1 million, guess what? we're gonna dump $20,000 worth of gravel a year there forever and call it a day, right? Like we've been doing, but with the hope of getting some reimbursement, then it would be nice to fix it.
Oh,
Right.
I'm all for it. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
weighing risks and, you know, the what if scenarios, and so, just pulling at that string a little bit more, and I get it. I understand that they don't want to get themselves on the hook, but what, we have a written scope from them, or they put pen to paper somehow?
Yes.
they
I've
gave us
seen
a-
it.
Yeah, they gave us a quote roughly about a price,
They did.
roughly of what they expected it would cost to fix correctly.
And
It was very close to Tyler's number.
It was
And our-
really close. It didn't match up exactly, but we were looking in the same lens. And again, I've got it ballpark priced. It's not to say we don't go out to bid and someone really likes the product, they're hungry and they put better numbers to it. I've also seen the opposite, where it's going to be a busy year and contractors say, there's a lot of work out there. We don't need to bid aggressively. Maybe it comes in a little higher. You don't know till bids come in. But I think with FEMA's number and my number, we're in the ballpark. It's not a $200,000 project and it's not a $2 million project. It's 8, 9, 1.1 in that wheelhouse. The way these contracts are written up is it's a unit price project. So we know we've got a pretty good idea that the quantity of rock, the quantity of pavement that is going into this, but we don't know exactly until it's done. So what typically happens is some of the bid items will come in a little higher. Maybe we need a little more rock than we thought. Some might come in a little lower. We have a little less pavement than we thought. Usually it washes out, but those final tallies on numbers and therefore cost aren't, we don't know them until they're done. But the bid should be close.
Should probably start getting bids sooner than later if we want to get it fixed this year.
Yeah.
well, he's got it right here.
That's why
February.
we'd like you to approve this tonight so we can start doing that.
I know you're not gonna wanna do this, Tyler, but this is where it gets fun.
Okay. That lead in makes me a little nervous, but go ahead.
With all of your experience, and nothing here gets held against you, with all of your experience, this is a big decision for us to make. So I mean, put a percentage on it for me. What's your best guess? 100% being a sure thing, FEMA's gonna pony up. 0% being worst case scenario. Where do you think this one would land?
I would say 90.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm saying 90 is that FEMA is going to pay the full freight. So, maybe they have some analyst that balks at something 4 months from now or 5 months from now and it's done. Instead of giving you 75%, they give you 65%. So I'm not saying 90% they're going to pay you $0. I think
Right.
it's 90% sure they're going to pay you the full FEMA freight.
Right.
And that's, I have no guarantees. FEMA is unpredictable at best. What I can tell you is the last big event, a lot of the stuff from this past summer are still going on. So FEMA is still a moving target, very fluid process. The Halloween storm was the last big event. And I think I did, at least 10, probably more like 15 sites. And like I said, call it 15, 14 of them eventually got the FEMA full freight. One of them instead of FEMA's 75%, got FEMA at 65% or something. It was a small box culvert. I think it came in at $150,000. FEMA was supposed to pay 120 and they paid 110 or something. It was something like that. And that was in a town that had a bunch of other work. And they said, hey, we got full freight on a bunch of stuff and way more money than we thought we were going to get. If we missed out on 10 or 20% of FEMA funds on one site, well, we're not going to appeal it. It's not worth our time and effort and money. We're just going to roll with it. So I think they're going to, they've already gone this far. They're going to fund a good portion of it. I a little wary to say the full freight. But I think a very good portion of it. I do think, I'm trying to think if I was in your shoes as a select board or if I was a taxpayer, I do think this is the best bet you'll have to get reimbursement to this scale. Most of the smaller VTrans grants, like for class 2 town highways, V-Trans structures grants, those type of projects are, $200,000 plus or minus. Wouldn't get you nearly to where you would be for the full fix. V-Trans has some really painful, federally funded programs that might fit this, but they're really competitive. And they're very tough to get. So, that's a possibility, but I don't know that they would fund it any better than FEMA, to be honest. So I think it's, and like I said, FEMA could come back in a month and say, hey, we reviewed this, we're yanking everything. You guys are still on the boat you're not on the hook for anything at that point. We're going out to bid, we're getting bid numbers in. So the bidding process will take a couple of weeks, a month, even call it. You guys get the bids, we've got time to review them. So you guys are not on the hook for anything right now for contractor dollars. So it would be, like Matt said, the making a motion to go forward with the bidding process is probably a good idea sooner rather than later. If you wait too long, contractor pricing is going to be terrible. If you bid this thing in May, add 30 or 40% to it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So, you making a motion to go out to bid doesn't put you on the hook for that $1 million yet. I will say, don't go out to bid until you're pretty darn sure you want to go forward, because contractors hate rebid projects. They hate putting that effort in to put a good number in, have their bid read aloud in the public, and then you guys say, we're not quite ready yet. We want to wait a little longer on FEMA. Contractors don't like that. So be pretty sure you're ready to pull the trigger. You're not you're not stuck with it yet, but be pretty confident you want to move forward if you're going to go out to bid.
All right, and just one other clarifier for me. So in our past discussions, you're gonna act, part of your participation in all of this outside of what you've done already is you're gonna help us sort of clerk this. You're gonna act as our clerk of the works on this.
Correct. So it's kind of a whole turnkey thing. So I'll help you guys go out to bid. So I'll put it in the paper for you, work with Matt I like to do the bid opening at your town office, in a public opening. Once we open them up, I review all the bids and give you guys, the board, a recommendation saying, hey, Joe Contractors, the lowest bid. They've done all their paperwork, their references check out, their FEMA stuff's in line. I recommend you award them the project. If you guys agree with my recommendation, you sign the contract between yourself, the town, and that contractor. And then I administer all of it for you, site inspections, coordination, working through any issues, permit, compliance, all that stuff. And then give you guys I come to you guys if there's, a big change order, if there's some major issue, or, town people are unhappy with the detour, whatever. I work with you guys, but most of it comes through me. Give you guys a final completion certificate at the end. And once you have that, the full package is good to go into FEMA and the state for reimbursement. And then anything they need on the back end, I've had them come back and ask for, additional engineering stuff or site inspection pictures or contractor course, whatever they ask for at the back end, I help you out with that too. So yeah, clerk of the works and then everything else in between.
Okay, answered all my questions. Yeah.
I think we should at least be.
Well, I mean, I think, obviously, if you would have said 20% that FEMA would pay, 90% is pretty good. So I would think that
And we won't hold it against you, but
there was no reason for us not to go forward.
Yeah.
Because to spend $20,000 or $30,000 a year band-aiding this and it could get worse.
Yeah.
Forever. This makes sense to fix it right once and for all, so.
all right, so you want a motion through it?
So I make a motion that, the town of Coventry, move forward with, the fix to the Coventry Station Road as presented to us by East Engineering, to put it out to bid.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Thanks, Tyler.
Excellent. Matt, I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll set up some times, and then get it in the paper and get the whole thing going.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Mhm.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's, Tyler, he's good.
He's on it up. Now, none of the contractors see any numbers, right? They're just going blind, or do they see what FEMA
Well, they'll
thinks?
see that right there, that,
This or this?
both of those things.
I didn't see any numbers in here, though. Dollars.
He said he had to add a few things before they went out.
Okay, I didn't, all the numbers that, looking through there was no numbers.
Well, they give us the numbers, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but so sometimes if
Right.
they see a number, it
Right,
tends
our
to
There won't be
be,
any of
Yeah,
his
our
numbers
numbers-
on there.
Our number was like 990,000.
it tends to be the number
Yeah.
or more. It never tends to be.
Okay, fiscal year, 20,000,
Yeah, before we go on that, because I just proposed that
you can.
we put off the budget discussion until after the personnel policy discussion.
Sure.
Move it later.
Yep, you got it, David.
So
So I'll move that down here. And we'll go to floodplain buyouts. Okay, so. Myself and Town Emergency Management Director Phil Marquette sent out letters to people that lived in the floodplain in the town of Coventry. I'm just gonna read you these addresses for the record. These are the homeowners that we sent the letters to. It was 983 River Road, 1717 Webster Road, 55 Conway Court, 36 Conway Court, 585 US Route 5, 57 Main Street, 88 Main Street, 89 Main Street, 108 Main Street, 117 Main Street, 235 Main Street, 193 Main Street, 269 High Acres Road. So all of these people that own those specific properties received a letter from the town on town letterhead explaining the buyout process. They also received a form from Vermont Emergency Management telling them how they can, if they choose to participate, they can sign up. The town, as you guys know, has already decided to enter into this program. So the town of Coventry's in. We're the people that do, we're the one that applies for the grant. We apply for the grant on behalf of these people. And if they so choose to move forward, that's how it works. Now, on an update to that, this is what I would like us to approve tonight. This was in your packet. Hopefully everybody read it. This is the expedited buyout process form. And what this does is this names Vermont Emergency Management as a sub-applicant on the grants, meaning they would take care of everything for us. And I think this is the way to go. This will move things along faster. They will start working on it immediately and we can get these people.
It's the discussion we had
Correct.
with him a month ago.
Yep.
So that would allow Vermont Emergency Management to be a sub-applicant on the grant process on our behalf, and they would coordinate with all the contractors as far as getting the houses assessed, as far as getting them torn down, and as far as getting everybody paid. And I think that's what people want right here.
Do they charge us a fee or no? They take care of everything?
Yep. They don't charge us a fee.
Were any of those addresses that you just gave us businesses?
Yes. Would you like the names of them?
Yeah.
Martha's Diner, Dinah's Hairstyling, and Jerushi's Crane and
So
Excavating.
that
That
street,
corner?
That block.
that street right there. And the town, thank you for doing that. So you guys have really done a great job getting all that stuff together. And I'm just gonna ask some stupid questions now,
Sure.
like, how do we do that? You do that from floodplain maps?
Mhm.
Yeah, you do that from overlays
Yep.
that Phil
Mhm.
is kind of pro at.
Yep,
So you guys have done that collectively.
we did.
Um. Should we, sometimes it's overkill, but is there anything else we should do? Is there any, should we put something on our website? Should we put something in the town report?
Well, yeah, if you guys approve going this route tonight, that will go on the website tomorrow, and
This'll-
it will go out to everybody on this list.
And it'll go, okay,
It'll be mailed out, just letting them know that this is the direction that we're going in now,
yeah,
with a letter explaining.
Is there a disadvantage to these homeowners going this way?
No, I think this just makes it easier for the town. So VEM would handle the whole process for us, like we wouldn't have to go out and hire an assessor, we wouldn't have to go out and hire a contractor.
We can't be in that.
Is it something that, what is left when they get done?
Green space, you can't put.
So it's gonna be grass. It's
It
gonna
can't
be,
be, well, it can be like a park, it just can't be a standing structure.
so with this, I mean, they're gonna get rid of everything.
Right. Yep. So, you know, if like we just had with the planning commission conversation, the village will look vastly different. You heard how many addresses I just named on Main Street. I mean, it's law,
Everything on that side of the road,
pretty much.
especially post offices, that doesn't qualify, is that, or is that one of those?
No.
That's too high, right? It is.
so I'm gonna venture a guess that Carleen is
No
here,
guessing, no guessing.
is here, primarily for this part of our conversation tonight. Is that right, Carleen?
That and also the dredging, because I'm really interested in that. You know, my dad started proposing dredging back in the early 60s, and
Okay.
it never happened. But yeah, primarily just trying to get a feel for the buyout, especially for me personally, how many trips am I going to have to make to Coventry over this next 2024, 2025 year? Because, you know, that's a long way to travel. So I'm just trying to, and I really would appreciate some type of web page or some way of being sure that notifications are sent out rather than, you know, having to email or something like that, especially with updates. If the town is going to basically turn the project over to the state contractors, I completely understand and agree with that 100%. I think that's the best way to go. It's going to be a huge burden. And I don't think the town is prepared to take on that day-to-day activity of so many properties and the management of that. So if when working with the state, maybe the state will have some type of website to be able to keep the interested parties up to date. But I would strongly encourage something of that nature to happen, just so there's a record of the communications and the processes. But yeah, I'm here primarily for the buyout because my family were just determined the house, it's time to go. You know, 50 floods later, it's time to go. So, and then
Okay.
of course.
All right, that's a great idea. And so that's a piece that we can talk more about. Not tonight, because it'd be a little premature probably, but I like that. And so so I guess folks like you, Carleen, will be probably as important to us as we are to you.
Yeah.
through the whole thing. So I think that you just brought up a good example, and going forward, I would strongly request that you and anybody else that's listening or reviews this to, you know, keep the communication going both ways. So if you're seeing something, feeling something, questioning something, make a shout out. So we don't get too far along in something and then have to take a step back.
And I understand our property is a little bit more complicated because all 4 of us children own that property. So everything will have to be quadrupled, right? So because my sister lives in Houston, in Dallas, I live in the Houston area, brother in Milton, and then of course Stephen across the street, he's going to end up getting hit with the bulk of it because he's right next door. But I understand it may be a little more complicated from a paperwork, especially when they come to do the deeds and all that there's actually 4 of us involved with our property, which I would think most of the other properties are a single person property. So things like that, I would just like to have this process memorialized for in the future. if you have to look back, and also just to have it documented, because for me especially, I take the lead in our family for all legal matters, and I just am so far away that it would be nice to have everything where I can reach it without having to call you or email you or something like that.
Understood. Yep, sounds right to me.
Thank
So
you.
so you want us to move on this?
Yes,
Matt,
please.
For, let's see, let me think about what do you want us to do here?
I believe there's places for you to sign, or actually, I think I could probably sign as long as you okay it.
Um. You have recommended language for that motion so that we're proper?
Probably the Vermont emergency,
Yeah, to name Vermont emergency
management acting as a
sub-applicant
sub-applicant for acquisition and.
for the buyout grants.
Yes, demolition projects under DRS 4720. I would imagine that's what it is.
That's the motion right there, Scott.
Okay,
I will second that motion.
all those in favor?
Aye.
You,
There.
I just wanna, they didn't-
Now, should we authorize Matt? Or does, or?
yeah, I think we,
I think,
It should
I
be-
think I'm duly authorized.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a motion. Now you can just
Okay.
go ahead
Do
and
it
sign.
up.
yep, Matt, sign it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Carleen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Black River dredging. Okay, I met with, a gentleman by the name of Ben Matthews. He is the whatever sector of Vermont river management engineer for this section of the state. He came up and, we went over to the bridge over there on the Black River. And he went down and took some pictures, and he said, absolutely, you have a big buildup of sediment there that's definitely gonna cause you some problems. He recommends that we get a engineering study done first. And then based on that engineering study and whatever depth they say to dredge it out, we dredge it out. He also said you're gonna have to do this every 5 to 10 years anyway, but he said it needs to be done now. And that was his recommendation.
And wasn't it done like 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, yep. But I think that flood dumped a lot of extra sediment. That's why we didn't quite make it to the 5 or 10 year mark. But he said under normal conditions, it's something you're gonna have to do every 5 to 10 years anyway. He said if you have massive floods like this, it's just gonna be more often. He said that, and there's nothing you can do about it. He said that's just a spot where it's gonna catch, and
Yeah.
there's not a real lot you can do about it. So if you want me to move forward with this, I would just need your permission to hire an engineer.
Is there any grants available for any projects like this or no?
At the moment, I do not believe there is. So the first thing, we'd have to hire an engineer, and then I would have to apply for a stream alteration permit. Those are $200 through the state. And then after that, I don't know what the cost would be. I'm sure the engineer would give us some sort of estimate.
Do you know what
We
we
can
spent last time?
Yeah, we can look back and see what it cost last time, but I think they're talking about doing a significantly more amount, taking significantly more out this time, making it quite a bit deeper in that spot.
When they dredge it, is it just take an excavator and how do they do it?
That's all.
Yeah, it's a really, really long boom. One they used last time. Big.
Yeah,
So is it up and above and below the bridge?
It's
'Cause I know it was last
and
time.
on either side.
And on either
Yeah,
side?
on either side. And I'll have to do and since that's a state bridge, I'll have to get some V-Trans permission there, but I've already spoken to our V-Trans guys, and they're aware of it, and it's not that would be a problem.
So. Questions sort of like what we did with Tyler, you get to answer.
Yep.
Instincts. What's the likelihood? Who can throw a flag and say, no, we changed our mind? I mean, rivers are sensitive,
Rivers are very sensitive.
so it's certainly, it's gonna have to be done. It's timely, it's gonna be done usually in August when everything's as low as it can be.
Yep.
is it something that you think as fast as happening this year? If we were to start now, or is this out beyond this year?
He recommended we do it this summer.
So you think it could get
Yeah.
moved along that fast so
Yeah.
that we could get it
He
done
said,
that fast?
based on his visual inspection, he says we have a pretty significant sediment buildup on that, in that spot right there. And he said he said it wouldn't even take a major flood, you know, you get hit with, he said you get hit with 3 or 4 hard days of rain. He said that's gonna be in the field over there.
But I think last time, I mean, I think in a week's worth of work, they can get a lot of stuff out of there, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know too much about it. I think, and that's why I think he would like us to get the engineering study, because he wants to know the exact depth of that. He wants to know, you know, he wants to know the width, he wants to know.
Last time they scooped it, piled it and let it drain.
Right, he wants to know what the buildup is
And
made
just-
of down there.
Right, didn't we have to get permission and leave it over in the field?
We did, yeah.
Whose property was that?
Well, there was 2 different landowners, I think, that we had to deal with there. So there's always those issues.
Because we had to,
But,
we did
And
something,
then what do they do with it? They just,
they haul it
chop
off
it off?
after, it's muck, right? And then they just haul it off after.
and most of it's not really usable. It's a mixture of.
they leave it there.
No, we have to, part of the whole contract will be, you know, hauling it somewhere, so we'll have to find a hole. Or get permission somewhere to
Scott and some Phil.
dump that in.
Well, closer, probably the closest, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Make a room.
So no indicator on expense.
Yep.
If you had to make a guess,
Say somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000.
and that'll end up being all town expense.
At this point, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there won't be some opportunities for some grants or some reimbursements because they didn't know yet either.
So,
For getting an engineer, do you think, would an engineer be able to come out and give us a quote on how much it's gonna cost to
Yes,
engineer it?
I-
That's what we need
I
first, to
believe
get
they
a
would,
quote.
Yeah.
get that part done.
You know, he said it's $20,000 to
Right.
engineer it,
We
or
can-
5.
Right, we can spend, you know, 10 grand from an engineer and have him get a quote. If we don't like the quote, then we're only out 10 grand.
I mean, I
10 grand to get an engineer to come look at it to say how much it's gonna be.
I don't know, I assume
No.
it's gonna be.
We're in the wrong business.
It's gonna be in that ballpark. Yeah, I mean, the stuff we do with Ruggles and Tyler, and nobody shows up anywhere for less than 10 grand, it seems like.
We do, don't we, Scott? So I guess, you know, it may not sound right to some folks who might listen to what I'm about to say, but let's just say people take advantage of this buyout and all those houses are gone.
Mhm.
Does it matter?
No. It doesn't, I mean, it wouldn't be the houses, but I mean, I don't, you know,
Right.
I don't think Drushy's is going anywhere.
But then you could say the
I
rush, you
don't
wanna
think,
split the cost
I
with
don't think
us?
Martha's Diner is going.
You know what I mean?
Well-
It doesn't benefit us.
Just don't let them do anything.
I mean, we're talking about, you know, if we're talking in the 6 figures,
Right,
you know, and that's looking at 6 figures every 5 years. I mean, you're talking a $25,000 a year additional line item.
I mean, honestly, because if these people did alter the bylaw,
Mhm.
it's very possible that there would be no road there, and it'd be one way into town only. You take the highway into town, the high road, and there's no low road, and then it doesn't matter if it
That's what I'm saying.
fills up with.
It would literally go back to what it always was,
It would.
which is a floodplain.
Right.
Right now, we're fighting nature.
Just keep this in mind, if these buyouts are gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
If we have another flood, and these houses all get flooded, and we didn't dredge that river, you're gonna hear about it.
I don't think the Red River is gonna really help the flood unless it happens during the ice and. You know,
Just something to think about.
That's so I think we should take the next step, because we're not, like what we talked about with Tyler, right? We're not taking a step tonight to spend $100,000. But geez, there's so many moving parts to that.
It is, yeah,
Um,
you're talking about another big town project here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money and depending on who does or doesn't take this buyout.
And if
those
they don't
houses
take the
might not be
buyout,
there.
it's not the town's responsibility to dredge the river, is it?
Well, no, it's not, but responsibility wouldn't be the right word. It isn't a responsibility, but it's sort of the right thing to do.
It's a mitigation.
Yeah, it's the right
Yeah.
thing to do, so. But, I mean, we don't have an endless checkbook either.
You say these things.
So maybe we put a dam in the big hole up here at Fight, fill that up,
Like power.
makes power, let it come down slower.
So one of the questions that I would have, Matt, and if I'm not around and you're meeting with these guys, the basic sort of question around, and I talked about this with somebody else one time way back when. It's sort of like that river over there today has a surface. It's where it is. You can dig that down in a hole.
Right.
100 feet.
Yep,
The surface is still gonna be the same.
correct.
And at some spot below that hole, you're gonna come back up to where it's not dredged.
Right.
And so as more and more water, as you get the floods, you're not filling up that hole you just built. It's already full.
Right.
You're still bringing the surface up. So the question to the engineers and these folks is, what is it actually doing?
Okay.
Is it for mitigating ice? That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Because it, if something's,
Ice has a hole to fall into.
right,
the
it's
water
not
goes
gonna
down.
create a dam as easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to just suggest that having dredged that river this last year would have prevented or mitigated the flood that we just had with no ice in July, I'd have to have somebody tell me very, with a lot of education, that would have made a
I don't
difference.
see how that.
I just don't
I don't
understand
see it either.
how that
Yeah,
actually, and so if it's
The plane, the
ice
plane.
right.
that we're dealing with, I think that's a conversation that I'd like to engage them with. And maybe do a site visit and say, okay, well, there's pylons in the river from the bridge, you're not gonna move those. There's a big island
There's an
that
island.
exists now, you're not gonna move that.
Nope.
That's what needs to go.
But you're not talking about that, that's not what we.
No, he's not talking about, and he said, when he,
Yeah, but
said when he came
there's
down here.
trees
he
on
said,
it
"You
now."
can't do any-" He said, you can't do anything about
Hey,
it.
you can't touch the
He said, they
island,
won't let you do that.
and so,
He's just talking about digging out, like what you
Right
said.
in the
those-
corner.
just like we did last time.
Yeah, in those two spots.
And it allows.
It's a flush out,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It allows for the ice to go in there. Once it's full of the ice.
ice
then-
logs, all of that stuff,
Then
and
He
Then
said,
it
and
floods.
he's like, yeah.
it's
I
not
can see it needs to
for,
be done, but
it's not for the raising of the river.
no.
It's for the damming of the river. And so it's like, for $100,000,
I know that, I mean, I don't know if that's.
Let me see if I can ferret out what we spent on it last time.
yeah,
I think it was 30.
Did we do an engineering? Did we?
I think it was 30.
So, well, I had to estimate it, but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
I know.
So do you not have to have an engineer?
Well, they recommend, he recommended having.
We just got somebody and hired them with a big machine. David knew somebody and they came in and
so
then.
we had a permit, we had a stream alteration permit.
Yeah.
And so,
Because if the state drives by and see you digging.
You know what, before we-
Without one of those.
You know what,
trouble.
You know what I think we should do before we try to get an engineer? Let's figure out what we paid last time.
Sure.
Because if we only spent 30,000 last time. And they only can do what they
Right.
can do.
Yep.
Why spend $30,000 getting an
Oh,
engineer?
yeah,
Let's
no, we
just
don't
fix
have, I mean,
it.
this
Let's-
was sort of just an informational thing. I mean, we're not doing anything till the summer anyway. I just wanted to, I met with this guy, I was just. wanted to
Yeah.
Bring you
No,
guys
but-
up to speed. There's no decision to make tonight.
No, but it would be nice to know what we spent before,
Right,
because if it's in that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 range, then I don't know if we need to hire an engineer, it's a hole,
Right.
right? And you make it deeper.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to
You
get
know.
this in front of you so you guys, so I didn't forget, because we got so much other stuff going on.
all right, and then we can truck it, I think we trucked it last time. We had our loader. and trucks.
Yep.
And so, you know, we did a lot of that. It's been a while. It was,
It was 4 or
you've
5
been here
years ago.
6 years and what, was it when you were here?
Oh, yeah. It's probably like 5 years ago.
Okay,
You might want to check, the state might not let you go forward without an engineering review.
yeah, those
You're
are,
right, Carly, they probably won't.
They let us, know.
And maybe it would be an opportunity to ask the engineering firm also, is there any other type of diversionary tactic that can be used for the environmental control of the ice blocking? It might not have to be dredging. There may be some other engineering control that could entertain the thought of that would be, first of all, last longer than a couple of years and maybe be a little less detrimental to the river, but wouldn't hurt to ask.
yeah, I agree with that. So what's our next step? Check last expense.
I'll see if
Find out what it cost last.
It was,
See if I can ferret it out.
I think it was like in
Figure that out.
2018 or 19,
Yeah, I've got pictures, so I can just look at the pictures and get the date, but
Alright,
when you saw
actually
it.
coming up with what we actually spent on it, I'll try.
yeah,
Okay, so we're good with that for tonight then.
Probably.
Okay, Dave, you ready for the personnel policy?
Sure.
Okay,
Do they have it in front of them?
they have a copy for you. I didn't print it out.
yeah, big dog.
You only get one of his copies. Or
Pages,
it's not
not
free.
Yes, they are.
Okay. So this is the updated personnel policy. The previous one was adopted in June of 2021. And what I did was I took that and did a bunch of edits. Which I'll get to some of the key ones in just a minute, but the big picture thing, and this is not to approve it tonight. I need to get your feedback on the direction and some of the changes before we invest a ton of time on stuff and only have you say, you know, go the other way or something. So the first thing is the biggest picture, which is the format. The one you're looking at was done to the old VLCT format back in probably the 2020 timeframe. And since then, Scott Breyer, I think you've engaged with VLCT on their formats and sent them to me. And they have really kind of changed the way they recommend that we do these. So I've left it in the old format just for sake of looking at it and knowing what it is I've changed and edited. And I think we had that discussion several meetings ago about that aspect of it. But before I bring it back to you for an approval action, I just want to kind of get the go ahead to put it into the new format after we finish our discussion tonight. Of course, it will take a while to put it into the new format, which is simpler and reduces a lot of the discussion about the hiring and firing and discipline of employees. A lot of that just goes away. And VLCT has a good discussion in there that accompanies their new format about why they think that's a good idea for small towns in particular.
Less is more.
Sometimes. Okay,
So that's the big picture kind of guidance that I'm looking for is, do we want to upgrade the format to the latest? Now, if I could invite your attention, I didn't make much changes to the very start of it, and a lot of that formatting doesn't change in the new format either. But if we can go to like section 18, eligibility for benefits. Right. And here comes it sounds like a biggie, but it's actually pretty cheap. The way the policy was written previously, only full-time employees were eligible for benefits. And what I propose to do in here is to add a small segment of the benefits for part-time employees who work 8 hours or more a week. And then piece of that would be vacation time and sick leave. It would be proportional to the hours worked over the year.
Be prorated. We
Prorated
do that
over the year, and then and available the next year. And we can have language in there. I've added it in the version. I'm not sure you're looking at the same I've added just a couple of words about it. It would be employees who work 8 hours or more a week. If we have a whole segment of part-timers who work once a week or much less than that. So
And this is,
it would just, in the current environment, there would be 3 people that would be impacted.
And it would be who?
Myself, the clerk, and Deb Tangway, and the assessing clerk, Kate Fletcher.
I gotta think about all that.
So-
So let's say,
We'll get to I costed it out for, if it was in effect right in the previous fiscal year 23, what would it cost us in fiscal year 24? $5,263, 15 cents.
it's keeping track of it, that's pain in the ass too, though, you know?
we don't pay them outright. It's use it or lose it. That's what we do now, right?
Well,
Vacation?
yeah, we could write that in for the part-timers. I have some changes coming recommended for the full-timers. Because it's not that way.
But we don't have anyone really that works less than 8 hours, do we, other than, is it?
The animal control officer. Is on payroll. You guys, health officer.
Yeah, but those aren't
Those are
employees.
stipend, we're stipend, yeah, it's
Well,
different.
the animal control officers. So,
I don't like it. Is it too early to say that?
Just because he hasn't explained it yet, I don't think it's.
So let me pick on. Who's got the thickest skin? You?
Yeah.
Now you're full-time, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't apply to me.
Well, let's put it this way,
I was gonna say, people make fun of me all the
I
time.
would rather pay the part-time employees more money per hour than to give them any benefits, personally. It's just simpler. If you do the math and you divide out all the hours of the $5,200 that this would have cost the town, and all these people worked 2,300 hours between all of them in the year, it's $2 an hour or so, and then you don't have to keep track of anything, you don't. I think it's this cleaner line. It's easier.
I love it when you start doing math, Scott.
I kind of, yeah, you're a mathematician.
He's good, he's good.
I think I like that.
He does in his head that good.
It's also, for me, it's the basic concept of what is vacation for? What's vacation for?
To get away from the town of Coventry.
Right? A vacation is for people to be able to decompress, take a break, get away from the work scenario. We're talking about people who work 1 day a week, right? For the town.
no, we work much more than that. You're talking at least 2 days.
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to laugh about it, but it's like,
And it's,
and then you gotta replace them or not replace them.
replace one.
I mean, we're talking about, we've had this discussion around hourly versus salary anyway, right?
Like if you have to have a treasurer in here if Dave's on vacation.
Yeah, or Kate.
Right.
So we've got Kate Fletcher who works a day a week, and so we pay her,
She works 2 days.
8 hours a week.
Right.
She can do it however she wants, but she works a day a week. And so if you're gonna pay her vacation, I don't get
No, it's
that.
for one of those other days that she doesn't work.
I just
It's a
don't
bonus.
get
It's
it.
just a bonus, it's a bonus,
It's a bonus.
it's a bonus.
So give them bonus pay or give them, a salary in lieu of it. It's just not making a lot of
It's the
sense to
same
me.
thing. I mean, counting it is the same math. It's the exact same.
I would rather pay more money and not have the package of.
Yeah, and it goes back to the whole hourly employee versus a salary, which is, town clerk, town treasurer, tell us what it costs to do your job. We're going to go away from time cards on that, right? We're going to say, how much are you requesting to run your office? And that includes you. And whatever it is, you figure it out after that. You can work a day a week, 2 days a week, or 3 days a week. You gotta
Or you can be
function.
more efficient and do it quicker.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, you gotta have office hours, but. To get to. You're trying to take town officials and make them employees. Is what you're talking about doing. Those are in some cases, elected town officials. And you're gonna try to make them employees. That is not a good idea.
No,
That's not a good idea.
the least amount of employees is bad.
They're not employees.
Right.
They're not employees. They're not governed by this document. They are of town officials, just like us. We're not governed by that. He is, the road crew is, employees are, but not town officials. So I would say absolutely.
So-
Do we have any part-time employees?
So the clerk would be elected. You said that. I'm not
So that-
elected, I'm appointed. Your assessing clerk is appointed as well, so I would say employee.
No. We've been around that one. You are an appointed official. You're not an employee. You are governed by the statutes of the treasurer's office, which is what you hold. We've appointed you into it, but you're an official, you're a town official.
But I honestly think because he gets paid every week and it's not just a set fee and he gets paid hourly, in a business world, he wouldn't be a subcontractor because of the way we pay him. Like in a business, if it wasn't a municipality and he wouldn't be a subcontractor. He should be a subcontractor because that's what the town image is by him being, an official. He's the treasurer. That's like hiring an outside service. But because he gets paid weekly, and I think if Deb was here, you're doing the payroll, right? So you would understand I think you are, and I think he is an employee.
Yeah, if you were to ask the IRS.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're having this
I'm just-
conversation.
no. Yeah.
Brian Monahan is coming to the next meeting. And we're gonna clear this up with legal. Because I believe, I'm 99% sure you guys are wrong. And so if that's the confusing part, then we will fix that next meeting.
No, I am just saying, as a business, I don't know how a municipality works,
Right.
and I agree with you. I would rather not have, someone works 8 hours a week, I don't wanna give them anything.
Well, everybody's important for everything that we do.
Right.
But-
Right,
To cast a large net and say everybody who's receiving a paycheck, including us, as employees, and that's not how it works here. It's sort of like is showing me why we're so confused the last number of months on our lists of who's an employee, who's a town official, who's appointed, who's elected. It's like,
I don't even wanna put it in the town
You know,
report 'cause it's so screwed up.
hourly wages versus salary. It's like we've had all these discussions so many times and we keep having them. It's like, I think we got to stop and have an educational discussion here. And I guess we need to get at Brian.
Have you queried the other towns and villages to see how they classify workers? Or is Coventry just kind of going out on a limb?
No, we have a salary report from VLCT that shows how other towns and cities pay. There are other municipalities that in fact give some benefits as part-time employees.
Employees, yes, but
Yes.
not town officials.
Right. I would argue, you go tell the IRS that I'm not an employee and they'll tell you, yes, he is. They also say that you are an employee because we're paying you. Again, it's who,
So that term isn't fitting to this conversation, right? That's a tax thing. That's not who's your boss, right? It comes down to, in this conversation, who's our boss? Everybody in the town. That's our boss. Who's his boss? Us. He's not elected. He's an at-will employee who works for the select board, at the will of the select board. Who's his boss? His boss is the town. The town gave us permission to hire and appoint somebody for them, but it's their employee, it's their official. We cannot boss him around and tell him to do things outside of his statutory obligations to his official position. That's just how it works. You
Can you fire
can't,
him?
we can unappoint you.
So you can fire him.
Yeah, we can remove you from your appointed position with our authority to do that. We should have good cause to do it for sure. But yeah, that's our purview to do that because the town has given us that permission to do that through their vote. They can take that back in town meeting and they can say, we no longer wish to do that. We wish to A, have a treasurer who lives in the town, and B, a treasurer who we're going to appoint each year ourselves and not give it to the board to do that. They have the authority to do that. In this case, they have given us their authority to do that, but it doesn't change the fact that you're an official with statutory treasurer responsibilities.
So, we can grind that line into the dust.
That's just what
However,
it is.
Yeah,
You still have a paid relationship with members who work here in the town. Whether you call them employees or officials, there's still a relationship
Yes.
governed by personnel policy. And that's something, and that's what I hope to get at with the personnel policy.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're telling me do not engage with the part-time benefit thing, I will just cross it off.
I would cross it off for now.
I think that's subject to legal opinion. It sounds like a very thin ice, so to speak, when you're going on determining whether or not a person is an employee and subject to state and federal taxes and things like that, versus there's somebody that you're paying as a basically independent contractor that was either appointed or elected into their role.
so
And then they're responsible for their taxes and social security and other things such as that. So I really think she said that a lawyer's coming next week or next meeting. It'd be a really good conversation to have with them.
yeah, we are in a business, we have to provide paid time off.
Yeah.
Excellent. And within that paid time off is sick days. And it's accrued by, and everybody gets them. But it's state makes us do it. And I don't know if the state makes a municipality do it or not.
I know the answer. I've said it a million times.
It's not,
It's no.
okay?
So
And
I,
just so I'm clear, they're basically on flex time, right? I mean, they don't have, if they're supposed to work on Monday, but they're sick, then they can come in Tuesday to work? Is that how it is? So they're on flex time?
there's different officials with different responsibilities and capacities. So if we went off the premise simply that, as you say, taxes and those things, they take taxes out of our pay. We just got our W-2s. Right? I got paid $1,000 this year for no amount of hours, right? As a select board member. That was my pay, my gross pay, by the way. I can tell you right now.
That's not
that
gonna take you on vacation.
that I work many more hours than that. So it's a more complicated conversation. But it only becomes more complicated if you let it. When it's not really that difficult, if you can make the first thinking adjustment around what's a town official and what's an employee, not for tax purposes, not for money that you get, but how that person is treated in the personnel world. That's what makes it different. If you went off the premise that what some folks just said, then we are all employees, and we're not. It's not how it works. So I'll talk to Brian. We'll pay him $300 to come tell us something. And we'll put it to bed, hopefully.
Okay, Dave, anything else on?
Oh, yeah, we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a tad more to cover, now that I've ripped the Band-Aid off that scab. So, under holiday leave, I have, several changes. The first is to remove the Christmas Eve half day December 24th off the list. That's a problematic holiday in that the policy also says we pay time and a half to employees who work on holidays. And it's not a state holiday,
Which one is it?
the half day on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah, that's must be
Now,
self-imposed.
you could, what I would recommend you do, and I've seen this done in previous organizations I've worked in, is the day or two before you decide as a management level to say, hey, you know, our employees have been good this year, we'll just give them a half day on. It's not a vacation, it's not a day off, we're just gonna tell you to go home early.
I don't know how it would get there since it's not a state sanctioned holiday.
That too. Well, anyway, my proposal is to remove that.
Yeah.
I propose to add Martin Luther King Day and add President's Day, all of which are on the state's holiday list.
Right. Follow the states, and that's the easiest way to do it.
The state also includes Bennington Battle Day, which I did not add to this list, but I will if you want me to.
The state has a couple of holidays that aren't real holidays, they're floating holidays. Which means their employees aren't paid the same way in which you've described the pay, but on their floating holidays, it's a comp time only holiday. So if you happen to work during that day, you can choose to have it off and get paid your straight pay, or you can choose to work it and get an 8-hour comp day.
Yeah, let's not do that now.
Right, and so
I'm assuming Bennington Battle Day is probably one of those.
it is.
The others on this list, and including the two I proposed to add, I believe, would not be.
Yeah, but I mean, with that said, I wouldn't even argue that one. I would just say the best, personally, just follow the state's lead on the holidays and make them,
Exploding up with Bennington.
we're talking about
I'm
4
sorry,
employees.
I don't have anything against Bennington, it's not there.
Yeah,
Just do, just whatever the state says.
Yeah, I think that's,
Okay,
talking about 4 employees, just follow the states.
well,
Okay.
I don't know.
I have 8.
Where's your shin?
all right, good. The next two paragraphs talk about how employees receive holiday leave pay and some of the difference between a exempt versus non-exempt employee. Matt being the exempt one, the others are not exempt.
You wanna hear this, I'm
I
gonna,
added,
interrupt you for 1 second.
sure,
Well, what some people do, this is bad. You give them the paid holiday, right? But if they don't.
Max,
Listen,
make
listen,
him stop.
you get your paid holiday, but listen, if you don't come in the next day, you miss the next day, you don't get paid.
There's a theory. I say no to that.
I know, but I'm just saying. It could get worse.
Dave, go.
so I've added a bunch of clarification in the next couple of paragraphs about how employees are paid holidays, regular rates, double time, or not double time, but time and a half. Just so I can pay people, do the payroll. The previous policy is so vague on certain things that and conflicting in certain areas that you just, okay, what do I do? So what I haven't added any benefits. I've just added what I think is clarity to the way I've actually been paying people. And that Scott, you've been approving for several months now.
Yeah, essentially what we do is we say, here's the holidays. So Matt, you get the days off and you go home unless we got to open a shelter or something, and then we just make it right. The highway guys, if it's a holiday, they get paid their 8 hours to not work. If they do have to work, they get time and a half on the time that they worked plus the 8 hours. Again, state, following the state.
And that time and a half time on a holiday does not count against if they also are on overtime status for the week. So you have to be careful you don't pay them
Correct.
time and a half and take it out of what should have been time. Yeah, so
Correct.
there's multiple levels. And then I just
Yep.
add that in here as clarity because
Yep.
it sure
It wasn't written. It was what we were doing, but it wasn't written.
It's like, what? Further on, it talks about vacation leave. I have changed some of or recommending changes for some of the way we've been doing that. to align it more with what other municipalities do. I didn't make any change to the first year where we allow a maximum of 1 week or 40 hours. I did change, we have currently 2 through 9th years as 2 weeks. I'd like to change that to 2 through 5th years as 2 weeks. And then 6th through 10th as 3, and then 11th and all subsequent as 4. And that changes, and I'm eliminating the 5-week bracket that we also have in there currently. So it's a little more generous on the front end, but
I think after 5 years,
Yeah.
2nd through 5 years, 2 weeks, yeah.
So
Why does it?
we're
say-
not making any of these decisions. so
no,
No.
We're just
you know,
talking and
right.
having fun.
yeah, I just don't
That's a lot.
keep going, only to have you guys, do the
No,
hard
I-
fight on me.
No, I think that's all right. I like that.
I'm warming you up too.
He's trying to. Calm all these things, give me a headache.
You try doing payroll. The way the policy is written now.
Doesn't sound like anybody's coming to work. Stay home, we'll just send you a check. Zoom in.
Makes you wonder why we do what we do.
Is that an option?
No,
Okay, so currently, employees are not allowed, you cannot carry over any vacation time from year to year. And what I would propose is that, in fact, we allow an employee to carry over up to 80 hours year to year and pay out any, if there's any in addition to that, we pay it out. So under the current policy, and we have an example of this, if an employee gets to the end of the year, hasn't used all their hours, they just lose them, they're gone. That's it. For vacation time. That's, I think, a little harsh. It's not what I've experienced in the work world. I like to allow a little bit of accumulation.
this seems intense.
Why don't we just
I'm
pay them,
getting-
just pay them? If they haven't used them, they pay them at the end of the year,
Well-
and they're done.
See, the problem with that, you'll encounter. I don't know about any of our current employees, but you will encounter the case of the employee who won't take a vacation, even though they desperately need to, because they know they're gonna get paid out. They want the money instead of the vacation. So, I mean, it's a philosophical question, but do you encourage people to take their vacation time and use their vacation time, which the policy definitely does as it's written right now. You don't use it, you lose it. Okay.
Does it become a
Versus-
problem at the end of the year? Everyone's like, well, if I don't take it, I'm gonna lose it. Why don't we all just?
But the year
Well, it did
ends.
this year because we had 3 new road employees who
Start off with 1 week.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're in snow season trying to take vacation. And that's inevitable, I think, anyway, in terms of,
Can we put in there that the road department can't take any vacation from November through March?
Well, but you have to approve it. Can't say they can't do
Yeah.
something, but you know, it's, you got, it's an approval situation.
so.
I think we've gone too
Something to
far.
think about, but just,
I think we've just gone too far in this. So we started out with wanting to update our personnel policy, which sensibly, which obviously has to be done, right? There's a lot to it. You're from the treasurer's office, trying to make treasurer world better, easier, right? Which makes sense to me, like the things, the overtime and,
Right.
or whoever's doing the payroll,
and,
isn't necessarily always gonna be me.
and that stuff, so that makes sense, but to
And it also
go
makes sense.
outside of that treasurer's world and into all of these other personnel issues is a little much for me. There's a lot to digest there, dealing with personnel issues, of which sort of, once again, we're the authority in the personnel world. So I don't think, I think I'm at maximum tonight. It's too many moving parts there. I think you have to break them out 1 or 2 at a time. Some of them are gonna require serious thought, probably some discussion with your employees, probably some discussion with a legal opinion on one or two matters. Potentially some review at what our neighboring communities are doing. Some of them have union shops, some of them don't have union shops. The state's obviously union, and they've got certain sets of rules. Just to sort of quickly look at these things and say, well, this feels good or that doesn't feel good is not good business. There's too much there.
Well, yeah, I'm not asking you to,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to introduce.
Yeah.
Where I see the areas that could need some work.
Yeah.
And if I don't put anything in front of you, then I guarantee nothing's gonna happen, so I'm just trying to put it in front of you.
yeah. All right. Oh, there it is in front.
So we should, well, yeah, we are reviewing, we need to do this though.
So that looks a lot better on the computer. The colors and everything, it jumps out at you. All
You can tell you can tell the change in the highlights he made.
right,
And I did send it to you, so you got it.
yeah, so give me at least a couple weeks so that's, at least for me, I gotta read through that and
I think we gotta go through a little bit of it,
it's a
not
lot.
all of it at once, yeah, it's too much.
You're gonna just get it wrong. You're gonna go way too far one way and then, you know, it's easy, it's nice and fun to give, try to get it back.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
go
I
talk
think they
about,
already get all of this stuff, but basically,
They
let's
do.
talk about the budget then.
it's, yeah, and then we're gonna talk about clothes.
Yeah.
Okay, just,
Thanks, Dave.
So, yeah,
before Dave gets into the budget thing, everybody listen to me very carefully right now, okay? This thing is going to print on Monday.
good.
You guys are gonna have to get together and approve a warning before that. And sign it. And you're gonna have to help write it if you wanna help write it. You don't have very many days, so.
Well, that was stern. I like that. That was
Well,
very
he's-
good, wasn't it?
Well, look how good we did with this policy.
Okay.
This cannot be put off. This has to be done.
So, and that you're talking about the budget that's sitting in front of you?
Right. This budget,
Yeah.
it needs to be approved so we can use the numbers in the warrant.
So you've gone through this,
David and I.
David's gone through this, fine tooth comb.
We've got some questions stuff.
Questions and just some highlights, so you understand what you're looking at.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so, first page, you'll see the Waste USA fees, that's Casella, News VT, or whatever you want to call it, Waste USA fees, right in the middle. And I invite your attention to the right-hand column, budget FY 2025, because that's the one that gets yay or nay at the town meeting. And you see Waste USA fees, $2,075,145. That number is just part of the Waste USA fees. There's another 500,000+ that goes into the roads budget. Okay, so the total number of Waste USA fees expected for next fiscal year is 2.5 million. I can show you where I'm getting that from if you like.
no, I got it.
It's a conservative estimate.
Yep.
And I expect, we'll probably see a little bit more than that, but 2.5 is a conservative estimate. Okay. Next page. I won't even talk about the leave and vacation. Numbers. I'm just gonna leave them there just in case, because they're small numbers.
Oh, God.
$5,000, we were having a fight.
They're just little itty bitties. Okay, you wanna flip to the next, I have nothing else to say on the second page. On the third page, I got nothing to add. Fourth page, I think we're also good on that. Fifth page, emergency services.
Oh, I got the letters from Orleans. Thank you, Scott.
So I plugged in the budget numbers as best.
Where are you at?
Page that says emergency services.
Got it.
is the fifth page.
Yep,
Sorry, they're not actually numbered,
Sorry.
but this,
got it.
those total out to a pretty big number. And again, it's a budget number. What I don't really know is what happens with Newport Ambulance Services based on the decision you guys just made. You know, we have an actual, and remember this is, they bill on the calendar year, so we have to be at least conscious of that versus fiscal year. We paid them 45 for calendar year 23, I guess.
Yep,
And so I'm not sure where that number goes in fiscal year 25. Does it go down? Does it stay the same? Does it go up?
It goes down.
comes down, but I like your
You
number.
know, do we stick with what I got? Yeah. So I just point that out.
Yeah, but it should go down.
To me, that's the one that's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay. If you want to flip to the next page, it says miscellaneous.
how we doing, Matt?
We're moving right along.
Yep.
No surprises yet, right?
Oh, boy, it's coming. We're getting, it's coming.
It's a build up.
Look at the appropriations line, again, over in fiscal year 2025. And actually the actual right next to it in this fiscal year. And you'll see a big number.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's 69,257 actual in this
Where the
year.
hell are we?
right here.
Appropriations,
Appropriations.
273.
Oh, yeah.
992. That is
We gave
primarily the town foundation, that $250,000 that you guys have,
Okay, that's a good spot to put it,
that's where it lives.
even though it's not, it is.
It is an appropriation.
Right, I can swallow that,
And you can see
even though it's
budget
not.
for, like, budget for 2024, we didn't know about it. It came up in the
What
town
is it?
meeting, boom.
Specs, line item. It's gonna be a line item, just like a truck.
The blue.
It's not in your lumped appropriations.
Right.
But,
Yeah, for
it's
not to
gonna
make
go
it a
away.
surprise.
right. Okay, so now, yeah, so I'm good with that.
So just so you know, it's a big number. It's like, what is it? Well, that's primarily town foundation.
I wonder though. Town can vote no.
Sure.
So did we put the truck in here?
What truck?
The new truck, we gotta get money for it. We ordered it, but we are short on the appropriations. That's not in
And
there.
paving's not gonna be in here, because those aren't appropriations, those are standalone line items. So that 250 should be a standalone.
You're gonna put it on as a separate article?
Yeah,
We can do that.
it's a separate standalone article voting up or down on 250 for the, yeah. So that should be a standalone, right?
I already have it as a standalone.
Well, then it shouldn't be right there.
On the warning, it's a stand, I have it as a standalone.
Right, yeah, so it shouldn't be in the
So
budget.
all the
the
other
operating budget.
appropriations equal the 23,992.
Correct.
Right,
Well, then in that case, the other appropriations are also standalone.
Right, because they could vote those, they could, well.
yeah,
they
they're
can
all
do them
lumped
as-
together,
They can do them as a law, or they can.
and they do them as a
This is-
law.
Kind of a fundamental budgeting issue. One of them that we get in is where does it go? Right, so do we want it on the budget? Do we want it off the budget? The small number, the 23,000 in the past, that kind of level, you know, it's like.
Right here.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, leave it right there.
The $250,000 one, that's a big deal.
Yeah, pull the 250,000 out, it's a standalone and it's not in that budget,
But it's-
operating
so it's-
budget.
But it's gonna show up somewhere.
It can't show up in the budget,
Because it's gonna come out of 25's money if they approve it.
right? Just like the truck, just like the tar. Or they're not, because these special funds are gonna be gone, hopefully.
Well, so the truck and the paving that in this current reserve fund structure would be against those.
Right, but that's not gonna be there. Go as if it's not gonna be there. Hopefully, we're gonna vote on that first. I'll have to look. And then you're not gonna have them to pull from. So that's where this discussion that we keep having is, which
Okay,
is,
so then where did the truck, if we're gonna pull the town foundation bid off as a separate article,
yeah,
it's not on the budget. the truck's not on the budget.
Not on the operating budget as we know it. It's on, it's an expense that the select board is putting before the voters to ask them, will you approve or disapprove of the $250,000 to go to?
I have a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother, let's just flip the page to the next page and what we can do. So this is the, I call it the bottom line page for the general fund, Fund 100. Where you, starting at the top of the budget, you can see I put a transfer to the investment fund on there. We've been doing that every year for several years, just to make sure that something gets into the investment fund. This is also a spot that we could put these other articles, maybe below this, the numbers here, put the other, just list the articles and say, okay, if you fund this, then here's the numbers. Then they show up in relation to the revenue that we expect.
Yep.
I think
We're gonna pay for them out of the $2.5 million in revenue.
That's exactly how I was gonna say it. Very simplistic view. You got 2.5 million you started with. You take minus your operating, minus your roads, minus the 250, minus the truck, minus the tar.
Minus the town.
And then all the rest of it that's left over gets sent off to long-term investments.
so. It actually
Right.
probably wouldn't, well, we'll keep going and see where the best place to stick it is, but.
So I mean, in the accounting, basic accounting, that's where my mind would be. However you wanna make that look.
Focused on this page again, you'll see an actual fiscal year 2023 line. It's kind of a right dead set in the middle of the page as a column, fiscal year 2023 actual. These are the numbers. We transferred 250K to the investment fund. We took in 1.9 million in revenue. We spent $527,111 in the general fund expenses. The total of those two, 771,111, and which means that we had leftover or excess revenue in fiscal year 23 of approximately $1 million. I say approximately because we don't have the audit numbers back yet. This is Dave Barlow's number, which I trust about as far as I can throw me, whether I'm an employee or an employer.
So, just,
Oh, that's a good
can I ask one quick question? Are you, is it gonna go something like this? Do the voters of Coventry agree to return or dissolve, I don't know what you're gonna do, these special funds? And where's that, the money goes back in, right? We're gonna dissolve those funds, so where does that money go?
Long-term investments.
All that's just gonna go to long-term investments,
That's what I would say.
okay? And then we really need to have this.
So that vote needs to be up
That's gonna
high.
be right after right after we do the election of the officials. It has to be the first one.
The first one, boom. And so get that discussion out of the way.
Get rid of all-
Now the town may vote no.
Right.
So that's fine. If they vote no, then nothing gets broken.
Okay.
If they vote yes,
Are you gonna come in and help me write this morning? So we get everything right?
yes,
You guys,
I can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
I can't do it after tomorrow.
And
we're doing it tomorrow.
I will do it tomorrow.
I would request.
Do I
that
get
you
paid for that?
find- There's a statutory requirement for some of these reserve funds. I think you'll find that the solid waste one,
Well,
the reappraisal. Requires.
So when I talked with the auditor about that, the statute Tory language does not say you have to have a special reserve fund set aside in the manner that we do. It's saying that the town has to have funds
resources.
for this project. And so 12 million should cover it. So we can get that language, we can call Brian or whatever, but
I think the auditor, I wasn't there for that discussion, but they may have been referring to the fact that we keep it in a separate bank account. That's not required. Funds can be commingled. but they have to be, I think you'll, like, we have to have the state now requires that we have a fund for education taxes. So we in Denver have a fund for education taxes. It exists. It's a reserve fund, for lack of a better, you can't do anything with it other than put numbers in it, but it's that kind of
So
silliness that we gotta be careful of.
we can talk about that. I can call Brian. We can talk that through and come up with any number of solutions. I'm already thinking of two of them in my head, which is you tell your long-term investment guy, make a fund for this. But the money is still gonna go there. Just like we do with everything else. You know what I mean? It's semantics a little bit, but I get what you're saying and we should
Well,
make,
it can, I think it can continue to exist notionally in Nemrick.
right.
That's the part I would be cautious of totally eliminating, just because that's where you could
So we'll call Brian.
get in trouble a little bit, especially with reappraisal and solid waste. Just doesn't mean you have to leave a bunch of money in it. You don't have to do that.
Okay. All right, so,
Just to be.
yeah, that's what I would think to do.
Dissolve those. Don't try to take some of that money and put it into the new truck. Just get rid of them and then ask them to approve. All right, we've signed a contract to buy a new truck as we need another new plow truck. It's $270,000.
And we did it pursuant to your vote.
Right,
So you can vote no and we won't buy it,
right.
but we've got it set up for you because we believe that it's the right thing to do and the town needs it. So we've done all the work. We just need your approval to spend the money.
Right, because they're a year out to get.
Right.
The same, so I have numbers for a few different things that I should give you those numbers to see if they wanna, I'll give them to you, to see if they wanna approve them. Cause I think by the time you give back all that money, it's not gonna be more money than what we already have set aside. It's gonna be less money.
This morning is gonna be about 25 articles.
Yeah, I mean, what are you thinking of adding?
Well, we talked about a bucket loader. You guys don't wanna buy the shit, but when it's broke, you need it. We talked about staying up with everything being 5 or 6 years
Oh.
old, so we need a bucket loader.
That's not happening this year.
X a bucket loader,
I mean, think about it. You're asking the town to pay how much for a truck?
270, I think that's what it is.
So 200, so we're gonna ask them for $250,000 for the,
Truck.
no,
Truck.
for the
Foundation.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yep,
You're gonna give them, you're gonna ask for another $250,000 for a truck.
And $1 million in paving.
You're gonna ask them $1 million in paving. You're gonna ask them how much for a bucket loader? You don't have enough money.
200,000.
That's
what-
outrageous.
What about 350,000 for a new addition onto the town garage?
Absolutely not even in the conversation. It can't be, it's too much.
It's
This
not
is
with-
the
it's-
problem.
It's not with the fund, the way you have the fund set up right now. We could just add more money to those.
And that's the problem. The problem why we're having this conversation is because with all these special funds, we're spending like we're Burlington.
But you're taking back, out of those special funds, you must be getting back $700,000. There's $800,000 in those funds. Like you should dissolve that.
I'm not saying we don't have the money. I'm saying we shouldn't spend it.
I'm not saying we spend it all, but what are you gonna do when your bucket loader breaks? You probably get away without a bucket loader. But we're gonna buy all this new equipment, it doesn't fit in the fucking garage. That doesn't make sense. You gonna leave it outside?
I agree with that.
It
bigger-
doesn't make
I
sense.
agree with that bigger conversation. I think it has to be a plan on a piece of paper. And we need to figure out the schedule for it. And then we need to actually literally present that schedule. It's not gonna make it in time for this town report, I wouldn't assume. Right? Cause you don't even have a draft of it right now. I mean, literally saying, taking stock of, this is our capital equipment list. This is our current list. This is our current recommended trade time and expense of the trade. And here's, in addition to that, here's new equipment that we want. And then figuring out how do you put that into a 5 or 10 year financial calendar is what the next logical step would be. It's not just spending,
But you
you're
have,
talking about $2 million.
no, but you have $2.5 million of revenue coming in, and your town is gonna, to run the town is about 800,000. So you do have almost $2 million left over.
Yeah.
You're not always gonna have to spend $1 million a year on improvements, but by God, the town needs. You should see the equipment. You have no idea. This stuff is junk.
I'm not disagreeing with it. I just think it's,
Wait, what are you waiting for? You're gonna wait? What, why? What are you waiting
well,
for?
what's gonna happen if they vote no on everything and you piss them off?
Oh, no, then I'd be really mad if they give away another $250,000 for the foundation, but they don't wanna put an addition onto the garage. That would be. What are they thinking? You know, what is the town really thinking? You're gonna give this money away, but you don't wanna give it to yourself.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit if they did that.
Me either.
Not one yet.
Me either.
Are we getting off topic,
A
Dave?
little bit. So, same page, there's a leftover, let's say there's $1 million. I'm fairly confident there's $1 million left over for fiscal year 2023. Excess revenue for fiscal year 2023. In past years, we've had articles that disperse that amongst reserve funds, and I'm not proposing to do that this year. What I would propose, though, is that we have an article that says, put it somewhere. The investment account comes to mind, but, you know, do something with that. You don't have to. You really could just leave it. There's nothing says you have to do anything with that 1 million. It could sit in the general fund, it could sit in CDs, parked right where it is. There's $1 million sitting in CDs, parked 5.5 right now. So you don't actually have to do anything with it, but I do point out that it is there. In the past, we voted on what to do.
Well, the bigger picture is we don't even have a plan for, like, how much money does it cost the town to be able to run itself? If it's a 800,000 a year, what's it gonna be in 20 years when we have 50 million in reserves to pay for that 800,000, so we don't have a municipal tax? That's a bigger calculation that the town needs to work towards.
Where are you getting that 800,000 number? What's our? What's the bottom line, Dave, for total?
Yeah, so if you look at the budget for fiscal, that same page, this one that's just bottom, you see a number that says 909,848. Take
Yeah.
250,000 out of that. So.
750, 650, 650. No, 750, 650, 660,
Is that right?
660.
Yeah, you're right, 650. Budgeted. We normally are under budget on the municipal side. Probably will come in somewhere around 620-ish for 25, when all's said and done.
Okay, so then take the 909,848 total expense. That includes all your highway
That
and,
included that, no, that includes the 250 that you want me to pull out that you're giving to the foundation.
but not highway.
No.
That's what I'm asking. What is the bottom line?
Okay, so we haven't done roads yet. Next page is
Depends
for
what
the
it's spent,
roads.
right?
I thought you were asking about what it costs for municipal.
Yeah, no.
So,
Which,
okay. So, roads, you can see there's a revenue side to that. You'll see the, 424,855 that comes out of Waste USA fees. There's another about 100,000 that'll come in from the state for class 2, class 3 roads. Totaling 525, 255. I did not this year add any grant money, just reserve funds go away, then that could change, but. And it depends on, so I'm not planning on any grants. If they do come, that's great. And then the next page is road fund expenses. Amazingly enough, you'll see that those total out to the exact revenue number, 525, 255. Perfect.
remember we talked about renting a side mower this year, 25 grand? I don't see that here.
So we got away from winter and summer and we're just doing.
Yes, we did.
And so total is 525, 255 plus,
660.
About 1.1 million,
huh?
about 1.1 million.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. So you're at a budget now over $1 million,
And that's,
just your regular budget.
is that counting 250 in long-term investments? That's putting
Yes,
250 away.
That does include that.
That's putting 250 already in the bank.
Mhm. So you actually could take that out if you wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be 800,000.
How is that included in 250?
Well, I have. If you look again on the page, with
Yeah, cause that wouldn't be in the budget.
that transfer to the investment, but it is on the budget. So that in fact, because in some years, that's it, that's the only thing we put in.
But I don't see where it's not a budget.
Well, it's clearly marked as a transfer.
It's getting the town.
But it's
voters-
skewing your numbers.
No, but it's getting the voters to put the money aside.
It's a proper line
It
item.
does skew the money.
It skews the money.
Yeah.
You have to be careful.
You really need to clean that up by saying, here's our revenue and our expenses for municipal. Here's our revenue and our expenses for highway. Total expense, total revenue, total expense. Okay, boom, we have plus $1 million, plus $1.5 million, plus something,
Right.
plus some big number. That's what the town has in its reserve checking account, right? That's what we have beyond what we're asking you to spend for day to day. Now, we've got ideas on how we would suggest the town deal with that $1 million extra. Here's a line item. $250,000 for the foundation. Here's another, not line item, here's a, what's it called, Matt? Here's an article. Here's an article to spend $250,000 of that. Vote it up or down, whatever they want to do. Here's an article, spend $250,000 on this. Here's an article, spend this, and we should have that calculated down to zero. With the last line being,
The remaining money that.
well, you have to have a dollar
Yeah.
figure. So it'll be,
Yeah.
whatever, 216 cents goes to, so assuming that they vote yes, you get down to the $302,000 and it goes to the long-term investments and your money's gone. You don't have any money anymore.
Right.
You have left in your checkbook what it is that you got budgeted for your expenses, and all the other money's gone. It didn't go to a reserve fund, it didn't go to a checking account, it didn't go to a CD, it went to a long-term out of town. So we can't spend it. We did spend it, we spent it in town meeting. That's where we should be working toward getting those sheets done and all of that major equipment and purchasing and all of that stuff for the happiness in town, to get the townspeople to allow for and approve that expense. Doing it the way we're doing it is terrible sloppy, and it's not even really right when you get into those figures and say, it's like, that's not correct, that's not a correct expense. It confuses.
It's confusing, yes. I argue it is a correct expense.
Well, it's an
If
expense.
you fail to put an investment, something going to the investment fund on the budget, you risk nothing going in. And these are the years where it's critical to get money into that account.
It's a standalone article. You ask
No, but if
them,
they approve the budget, it's in the budget, it happens, otherwise they don't approve any budget, they don't
There's a
approve
minimal
anything,
amount in
it's a
there.
minimal. I know it seems wrong, but it's right.
it's,
You get 250,000 right off the bat going into savings, going to long-term
It's part of the
investments.
pay yourself first philosophy of investment.
Because
I'm-
you're gonna shit to see what happens if you don't, you're gonna get no money, you're gonna be building water fountains.
Now, can I present it to you differently so it doesn't confuse you? Probably.
I'm not confused. I know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to, I'm not gonna use bad words. You're trying to slip in a little line with a big number that people gray over and just accept a budget, and you've tricked them out of $250,000. That's not good business.
Have you been to town meetings? I address it every year.
He says it's plain blank, 200.
Then why not put it on a standalone?
Which of, he says, this is the budget, and
Because
Dave
we
says,
do occasionally that too.
he says,
That's what we should do.
he says, which of.
We should do the occasionally this year.
250,000 is going into long, I don't care how you do it.
Because what if they say, no, they're gonna have to vote down the whole budget? You're putting them in a position that's not.
Then vote it down. Tell us what you don't like.
David. No.
I can tell you that's the least contentious issue with the budget right there. Put money in the investment account. And if you want to take it,
Nobody's against it, but you can take it out, I don't
I
care.
don't care. It's still, the bottom line is every time you take money and put it somewhere, it's an expense. You've got revenue and you've got expenses. No other real. I mean, this transfer thing is sort of fake in the audit world. It's revenue, expenses.
So,
It just says, transfer says, okay, we're not letting it go out the door. We still own it.
so we have to find the happy place between Matt's articles. Has to have starting point with a budget, right? It's got the budget. That budget that he has in your first article is going to have total expected revenue. Total expected revenue is gonna be there. It's gonna be shown, right? And all of your total expenses of running the town. Operational expense, salaries, expenses, tires, are all there. That's your built expense budget. Then you've got leftover. The leftover is gonna be whatever it is, $1 million. That's when you then get into the articles of saying, of that $1 million, this is what we recommend the town do with it. And it's black and white, clean and clear. Here's $250,000, here's $250,000, here's 100,000. And here's, and long-term investments are the last line because that's what you have left over.
Oh, that's just no, it needs to be the first one. Pay yourself first. Do you save for retirement by scraping what's left over? on
Yeah,
your
so
pay?
that one goes forward,
You're not gonna have
and they
much for
approve
retirement.
that to go into long-term investments, then you wanna do all the other things, and if they don't approve the money for the truck or the money for the building, then that money just goes into long-term investments.
Not without another vote, it doesn't. It ends up just sitting in your checkbook. I don't know that you probably could add some language in saying if this article is no, then the default sends it to long-term investment. You probably could do that because then you have a specific number. And that would happen. You
That's
could-
what
you-
we've
you
done in
could
the
make-
past, I
Yeah,
think.
we have done that, and that makes that language clean and clear, so that inevitably, at the end of the day, you're still down to zero.
Yeah, you'd be down.
You've allocated all of that money to go somewhere.
Hmm.
It's not gonna sit in community bank. It's allocated out.
So the surplus money that we have the $1.1 million, that's gonna be on. That's gonna remain in the general fund, or we're gonna vote to put that
I
somewhere.
think it can remain in the general fund. We don't have to put it somewhere.
I would.
You're talking about the 1.1 that's left over from last June.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Fiscal year.
And so
We should put that somewhere.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So in the real world, that,
could go to the investment account.
that wouldn't be shown in your budget. It would be shown in another standalone article that says we close out of fiscal year 2023 has X number of dollars, and that's not even in anything that we just talked about. And here's what we recommend you do with that.
But it's nice to have, you're gonna wanna have some of that money in there, because if you're attempting to use the Casella checks to pay as we go, we need to have money, because it might not fall in when you know what I mean?
I do, and
So
I
at the
agree
end
with
of the year,
that.
we're always gonna have some, it's not extra money, but it's the revenue.
Yeah.
So we need to keep some money.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that at this point. You wouldn't want to bring it down to zero. You leave yourself $100,000, $200,000, rounding money. Don't, yeah, I would definitely agree with that, but that's a number you don't even know yet though, exactly, right? Cause it's an unaudited number at this point.
The 1.1 million,
Yeah.
but.
You could have it be
Again,
lower.
that's separate from the bank account itself, but if we have 400,000 to 500,000 in there. Experience has shown that lets us not go zero balance all of a sudden.
Right. Right.
And if you have less than that,
You
you're gonna make the treasurer really nervous most of the time, and you don't want to be nervous most of
Yeah, no, I
Especially when I-
agree with that. That's another,
Yeah.
another pool of money.
Yeah, you get no vacation. We slammed him. That's bad. He should get some sick time.
He's gonna all weekend. So we didn't disagree with anything other than
No.
one thing.
Can you, as long as you say that you agree with these numbers.
I don't. The only thing I disagree with so far is that last conversation around those transfers. I
Right,
don't believe those
but-
transfers should be shown as expense.
Right, but as far as the numbers in here, you're good with the numbers. If you
Except
guys
no-
say you're good with the numbers, then I can start
One number you gotta
on
change
the
is
warning.
equipment rental. You need to make the equipment rental line 25 grand each rental right here. We talked about renting the side mower.
You're the man on that.
Dave,
Tell them a number.
Give me a,
Yep, I'm gonna give it to you.
is that 330?
What am I-
Yeah, 330.
530.
Yeah,
Do you want that?
I hear both sides.
25,000.
Yours is way clearer for everybody.
Okay, so just to, continue ripping that scab off, to make sure I get.
Which
I
scabs?
can tell you that every year is a little bit different as we get away from what NEMRIC presents, which is difficult to understand and to something, but I think I understand what you're talking about. Just have to make the translation between what gets spit out of the program versus what we put on paper. So you want me to pull out the transfers, no transfers in the budget. Those all go to a bottom line article event.
Yep.
So that would be all the one thing remaining would be investment. Okay, so then you end up, to take that a step further, currently the general fund, Fund 100 results are shown separately from the road Fund 150 results.
Yep.
And are you telling me to combine those in some way?
No.
Keep them separate.
On the revenue side?
No, it does, no. I like the way you're doing that. It
So
used to be a
the
due to, from, and I didn't like it that way. This is cleaner.
Yeah, the one thing I think people might find confusing is just the fact that the roads fund has its own revenue lines. can keep it that way, certainly. I mean, I understand it.
Why do you have Casella check broken out separate, you know, like out of the 2.5-ish million you expect, why do you have 2 million down and then 500,000 directly towards the road? How does it?
It's an artifact of the law that just changed last year, I think, that said your road funds have to be separate from your general fund. So that includes the revenue. So everything that
Okay, I remember that.
that
yeah.
touched the road,
Yep,
which was both revenue and expenses, had to be its own thing. So
Okay.
now,
I'm happy with
Yeah, I
that.
like
That
that.
looks good.
Yeah.
So keeping them totally separate. So all of your town's finances, boom, all of your roads, finances, boom, add them together, boom, then show your surplus right there. There's your surplus. Then create your lines, create your articles on that amount of money that's right there.
okay, so the road budget as it's currently constructed is zero balance. The revenue is adjusted to meet the expense. So
Oh, say that again. I wasn't listening.
Roads is balanced.
it's zero balance. It's
Yeah.
The revenue.
Right.
I adjust the revenue number to meet the expense line.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that falls out on the other side of the roads thing to say there's extra roads money.
Yeah.
On the budget side. You may get to the end of the year and find some, but yeah. that's
you
a-
can definitely, we're gonna be short.
So
You're gonna be short on
the
your,
bottom line numbers actually.
Well,
are
then don't let it be short.
well, you gotta add.
on what
some-
shows up on this page,
It's-
one we argued about for a long time. It's just a question of
I'm gonna
where
try
you
and-
want to see that in a presentation.
In a presentation for the town report,
Yes.
I would
Is that
put it,
At the very end?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, after you get to the sum total of revenue and expenses. After that, it should show.
this page basically is what,
Well, I don't even know that you need to,
well, you have to have somewhere to present it.
because you're gonna be presenting it through articles. You're gonna be saying, here's our revenue, here's our total revenue. Here's our total expenses, here's
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. What you just said.
yeah,
This page with some modification.
um,
Does it show up at the very end of the budget or does it show up in the middle, kind of like it does now?
and,
Matt, on line item in the roads,
so Scott is indicating that he thinks that the road side is gonna have a shortfall
right
with
here.
the current number.
on 40, number 430, equipment repairs,
Mhm.
you should make that 50,000 instead of 37.2.
Okay, you got that, Dave? 50,000 on equipment repairs.
Since we can't buy any new shit, we gotta back, get some.
We will, it's a process.
No, I know where you're gonna.
What
do
was
that
the
from.
other? what was
Oh,
the other
and then-
one Two,
It was right above the equipment rental.
rentals, oh yeah, that's, and
25
that's
grand.
that's 25.
Yep, and then building repairs, so we talked about this and we didn't do anything about the furnaces, how old the furnaces are in each. I think you should put in some money for a furnace in that building up there.
Well, that's another. Now that is that reserve, is the buildings and maintenance
There's
reserve
gonna
fund
be-
gonna go away?
Yes,
Because that's normally where you would have paid for it had it happened.
right, but we don't have it anymore.
If they vote it away, it's gone.
So we kind of need a contingency.
I mean, it's harder to do it your way, but it's cleaner. But when you don't have that back little pocket where you hid that little money.
So why don't you just stuff some money into buildings? You must have
Building repairs in here, just $2,500 for building repair.
Yeah, but-
One garage door falls off the track, it's $15,000. You
Well, that's
should,
a capital expense, though, and that would go against the buildings and maintenance fund. So.
but that might not be there.
we won't
I
have,
I understand, I hear you. It's just, the dilemma is if I put it in the budget
we don't use it,
and you
Doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you don't use it.
then have it in there.
can do it both ways.
It's hard to be short.
Your numbers are gonna get big. Your numbers are gonna get big in the budget.
So hey, Do it. What do you want?
I think you should, in that
Okay.
building repairs, you should have 40,000 instead of 2,500.
What number?
It's gonna be
430-01.
430-01,
Building repairs, you want that to be what?
40,000.
Is that it?
And see, this process that we're going through right now, and we're still probably gonna be short, is kind of what I've been trying to say. Which is, this is not a real budget that's showing how much money it takes to run your town, because you're stealing it out of all these special funds. This is what I'm telling you. So you're not presenting the town with a real factual, this is all we're gonna
We
spend. to
tell
run
them
this
after
town.
the fact.
This is all we're gonna.
At
And
the end
so
of the
it's
year-
gonna take a couple years
Oh, yeah.
to sort of fine tune that out, but you've got to do it. You have to do it to run a budget. You can't just keep stealing money.
So equipment, non-capital.
I'd ask the word stealing in this town, even in a public meeting, is a really questionable choice.
You can't
All
keep
you-
borrowing money from one fund to pay for another one.
Report every year reserve fund spending.
Yeah.
It's in the town reports.
Yeah,
Now, in fact, it is after the fact, but it is money the town voted to
do
let you
these
guys
things.
decide, so.
I get it.
again,
It's an easier way to run a town, not the most efficient way.
Hey, you haven't gotta tell me, buddy.
Okay, so line item 730,
Yep,
equipment, non-capital,
I see it.
that should be 25,000 instead of 5.
Okay.
Miscellaneous expense,
Yep,
10,000.
okay.
Really?
I'm telling you, you can throw some shit in there.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just,
What's wrong with that? It's 5,000.
it's kind of, it's the same approach as the reserve fund, I mean, it's just.
Dave, just give it, let it have 5, Dave.
Miscellaneous is just.
What Scott's trying to say, what Scott's trying to do is say, because we haven't really done our homework as well as we should have.
You gotta play with.
He's trying to throw some money in there to give himself a little leeway, because what happens if you spend all your money?
Right. Better to be high
Special
than.
meeting. How much did you want, Scott? 10K?
10,000.
Yeah.
But I agree with Dave, and that's not a good way to do it, and we won't do that again next year.
No, but next year, the goal next year would be, is to bring that back down to 0 or 200.
You're looking.
That's your
We'll
goal.
figure out where it's going and look at reality
Yes,
and.
but you'll have in 6 months or a year and a half from now. Good.
Okay, are we good with the numbers now? Me and Dan really wanna go home tonight sometime. I don't-
Well. I think I'm 98% good. So if Dave can reformat that and put the middle section, end of end at the bottom. You can get your appropriations in the right order. Which we decided was what was gonna be most important. You wanted to
My
do.
articles, you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to do the investment
First,
right after the
very
budget.
First thing is gonna have to be, shall the town of Coventry get rid of the reserve funds? That's gonna be the first one, doesn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah, and then you go from there. If they
Yeah.
say no, then
you just gotta explain it to them, right? We're gonna put this, we want.
Well, you have
do
to talk it through and
Right.
the will of the voters will
Okay.
answer for you.
And then,
But at least they get a choice.
well, they did get a choice. They put the money in those funds.
I
They
know,
gave
but
us-
that was 1992 when we had $500.
Oh, no, it was actually
So I can work tomorrow
every year.
8 o'clock.
until,
10.
Oh, yeah.
I have to be I have to meet Nathan at 10.
So we could probably
Okay.
go without without a loader, this year because we bought that bucket, the backhoe.
Right.
That would work for a spare.
and a truck.
We already had that money. Don't even talk about it.
And another truck,
And you need that
a
truck.
pickup.
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
I think,
It's a
though,
lot.
honestly, I think I've got a few quotes on some steel buildings and on the concrete work. What I would like to propose on this project is maybe not a finished building, but in addition to the building, put on there like 300,000, 350,000. It'll at least get the building up, closed in, maybe not totally finished, but it'll be a good step for 1 year. And then next year at this time, can review it. We can have, I can go through
how
it.
much did you just say?
350. Because then they can park all the equipment in there, even if it's not, it'll be heated, but it won't be finished. And then you can look at the rest of the building and say, okay, now we need to get the voters to approve 150,000 to finish the kitchen and finish the bathroom and finish the rest.
That's an article.
Yeah.
That's an art, right?
Yeah.
That's a standalone article.
Standalone
You're gonna
article.
say, shall,
You're going to give somebody a stroke
oh, I know.
at this meeting.
Even without this. even
Doing it
without
the way
this,
we've been doing it, they don't even see it.
It's the
But
same.
showing them how much money we're spending, you're gonna stroke someone out. If you say we're gonna build buildings, we're gonna buy backhoes, we're gonna buy F-250s.
No,
we're gonna
before
buy a
you-
dump truck,
Before we do that, though, in that article, in the line item, after you say,
they're gonna go
after,
crazy.
no, Matt, when you put,
They're gonna get pissed about no on everything.
does the town of Coventry voters agree to put $1.2 million in surplus money into long-term investments? Yes.
Right.
Does, in the beginning, does the town of Coventry vote to dissolve all the special funds? The total out of all these special funds is 875,000.
Yep.
More like
Yes.
3 million.
Whatever it is. Then,
You take
That's-
350 out of that.
and then that's when you wanna start pounding all the stuff we wanna buy, right after we
Yes.
put that money back.
Yes.
You know how to make it work.
I do.
You got, at the end of the day, we're gonna have $3 extra million going into long-term investments.
I
and you're
see, I
complaining.
see where you're going with that. I see where he's going.
I
If you
get
don't
it.
build
I
a
understand.
building-
It doesn't change your portfolio one iota. But. All right, so I am here tomorrow in town until afternoon and I'm gone for a week.
Okay, well, just.
So you're gonna have to have a special meeting.
Tomorrow, you're gonna be here?
I'm gonna be here tomorrow
We'll have a special meeting without you.
until afternoon. And then I'm gone for a week on an
I
airplane.
don't
Out of
necessarily,
town.
I don't necessarily need you after tomorrow. Like, 2 guys signed the warning, it's still.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to have a special meeting.
I'm gonna warn a special meeting for Friday, this Friday. You're not gonna be here.
No.
These 2 are gonna have to come in.
I'm not here Friday. I'm leaving Thursday. I'm out of town Thursday, Friday.
Can I do it by phone?
No, you have to sign it. 2 people have to sign the warning. It has to be signed by 2 select board members.
When will it be? When will you have it? We have it done Wednesday?
Tomorrow?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm physically not here. I'm on an
Right, I
airplane.
probably have it done Wednesday, but it might not be. I mean, there's
Where
a
are you
lot of
going?
this. I mean, I
Just
thought I would,
Pittsburgh.
but a lot of stuff
Hampshire?
changed tonight.
You're gonna have to help him this time.
It needs to be done. Could it be done Monday? Monday, have a meeting Monday,
How early can you get here Monday?
7 o'clock in the morning,
All right.
6
that's fine.
o'clock,
That's fine.
Dan,
I'll make it whenever you make it.
Monday at 7.
I'm
Unless-
gone.
Unless Deb Tangway tells me something different, we'll do that then. Cause she has dates that she has to have that warning posted.
Right, so
If it's-
I'm gone. I'm out of this loop.
You
I
just-
can't fix that. I will come in and work tomorrow.
we'll
I'll
play
do
it on-
everything I
play it on
can.
Monday. Monday
Don't
morning, Monday morning.
let him spend any more money.
Okay, can we?
Listen.
How much?
1.4.
That's it?
Listen,
We've spent that much?
no, left.
I understand
No,
what's
no, no,
left.
no, that's because I didn't spend it. I was a good boy.
Don't put it up.
Okay, here, how can we?
We better get going. You gotta we wanna put that reserves fund, you wanna put that, this is what you wanna do. The town of Coventry voters agreed to put the reserve
What's this?
fund
Liquor licenses.
money
Oh, I need you to. approve
towards
those.
this year's budget.
We just,
And these are the, yeah,
You have to
something
do it
like
once a
that.
year.
we
So
just
take
did
the
it.
leftover 1 million and put that in.
Deb Tabling wants you to make a motion on that.
Martha
Designer has a liquor
She's
license?
gonna have a motion for her to do that. So you guys have to approve those.
Liquor licenses again?
Yeah, we always do that.
I know, but I've already done it and I've only been on the board for. All right,
We haven't done it since I've been.
Leftover money,
Right.
reserve fund, leftover money, unspent reserve fund, leftover money. Put towards this year's proposed
If you
items.
wanna come and help us with the warning tomorrow, so we get that right,
what?
I can warn a meeting.
That's way too complicated.
No, it's way easier. It just smooths it right in. Get 1,200,000, building.
Matt,
Let's get the liquor licenses approved.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so. What are these? What's B and K?
It's Royers, Martha's Diner, and Little John's.
I make a motion, we approve the liquor license for Royers, Little John's, and Martha's.
Second,
Good,
All those in favor?
I,
very good.
It used to be different. We used to have to sign it, but now we lost authority here and
Approval of minutes.
Looking at that or? I would motion to accept the minutes as presented for the select board meeting of Monday, January 8, 2024.
second,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Very good, and the warrants.
In the morning, I'll get you numbers.
Yep. Well, I mean, I had the truck quote on that one. Get that in there. That are
And I'll write up the building. quote.
planning commission articles, we made that, that's gone now, right?
Mhm.
There was only 2 from here.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's our decision, it's
Right,
our
it's your
authority,
decision,
but I mean, we invited them, 2 of them came and.
Yep.
And they decided they were happy with our decision.
Decision, yeah.
Yep, yeah.
Declaration of inclusion in there.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
It's all in wording,
Yeah, it's all in the wording, and
and don't listen to him.
I gotta listen to somebody. Who am I supposed
You listen to him.
Listen to Dan.
All right,
You mean
fine.
listen to him?
I agree with that. He's probably the most level-headed guy here.
Yeah, you listen to Dan. All of a sudden, we'll be sitting up here with no freaking heat on. Well, I don't know. We have any
What else you got there, big boy?
budget, pretty
You got another
cold.
one? An easy one this time. We would get run out of any other town.
Not really. It's been just smooth.
Right out. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, 1 month. Gone.
Your brother is
You read
trying.
the Newport City
No, that's true.
council meeting, or better yet, watched one of the videos.
I haven't watched it. I feel bad for those folks up there,
what's,
all the way around. I
It's like
mean,
Jerry Springer on steroids.
I feel bad for them.
Okay, you wanna take that on vacation with you?
Sure. I would motion to accept warrants as presented.
Thank you.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Hey, very nice.
make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in
Very
favor?
good.
Aye.
Thanks,
Oh,
guys.
yeah, don't lose this, this here.